I'm continuing my review of the Great British Railway Locomotive offering that came out in the UK a couple of years ago. And if you recall, I did an overall review of all those models that I was able to uh, gather. And I'll try and do a little bit more detail here on the Flying Scotsman. And this is the packaging that it came in. Nice photograph with some blue and grey coaches, and of course it comes with the statutory plastic stand with a description of what the model is, and a little piece of moulded plastic track. So when we look at the two models in comparison, the one on the bottom, of course, is the Hornby model, and as you see, and you're all probably very familiar with this, what does become noticeable is that the detail on the Hornby model isn't quite as good as that which comes with the Great British Locomotive model. And here you see the front end. You get a little bit more detail in terms of painting of the parts and a hose and other accessories there on the front end that appear to be missing or not included in this particular model of the Flying Scotsman. This is an older model, can't recall exactly what the date was or when I purchased this, but it's got to be maybe, I'm guessing, 15 years ago or more. So just in general, when you look at the two locomotives, they're very, very close in terms of detail. And you know, when you look at the gear in the gift one, the one from the Great British Locomotives, you know, it is plastic. You can see it is plastic, all this gear, and the wheels don't seem to be turning at the moment. I'll have to look into that further. But you know, sandpipes are included in there. You might be able to see, and the Flying Scotsman name is quite clear. There's no fudging, and the electrification symbols are the warning signs are on there. And you notice the difference in the chimney, of course, between the two models. This is a more traditional shortened chimney on the Hornby one, whereas on the Great British Locomotives it's the extended one with the smoke blinkers included on it, which didn't come with the Hornby model at that time. You see there below the 4472 number, there's a moulded part on the Hornby one. There's 5 of them or 4 of them there on the bodywork, whereas when you look at the Great British Locomotive one, it's actually painted in top of the moulding. So they've gone a little bit more detail, and they've included a glass window there, whereas in the Hornby model that is not included. However, the Hornby model does have the brass whistles there. However, in the Great British Locomotive model, they are not brass, they're just green moulded plastic. Some nice detailing with the handrail along the side of the boiler there on the Hornby one, whereas it is not included in the Great British Locomotive one. It's just a small piece of moulded plastic there. The tender is doesn't have the, well, it has coal in it, however not as much as that which is included in the Hornby tender. And the inside of the cab in the Hornby locomotive is the earlier, as I say, the earlier model is moulded plastic for the controls. And let's have a look at, there's a little bit more detail as it turns out, with seats there for the fireman and the driver. Seems to be a little bit more detail included in the Great British Model Railway Locomotives model. I haven't separated these. As you see, they are held together with a couple of screws. As I say, the wheels do not appear to be turning, but I understand there are some hobbyists out there who are taking this model and replacing the chassis or the wheels, and some have made attempts to get it running. So in the Hornby one, you get some nice handrails there, a little bit of detail on the door, nice paintwork and the buffers. Great British Locomotive ones got a couple of extra stickers there, some nice moulding pieces. The handrail not as defined as that on the Hornby one. As you can see, there's definitely a little bit of handrail there. The buffers are painted nicely, they stand out, and looks like a nice job. So the underside, as you can see, actually it's come apart from the locomotive. Just plastic moulded wheels, but you know, it's absolutely a great value for a few £, and some nice valves there on the tender on the Great British Railway Locomotive tender, and compare that with the Hornby tender. The Hornby tender isn't as good. So, you know, when you do a comparison, there's positives and negatives to both models, and I think for anybody who, well, there's another nice little feature, like the vents on top of the cab are open, whereas on the Hornby one they're closed and cannot open. A somewhat different boiler between the Hornby and the Great British Locomotive one. The geometry is a little bit different, a little bit narrower on the Hornby one. But as I say, you know, it's absolutely great value, and get great detailing on it. And for anybody who wants to be populating the layout, what a great way to do so. You could have, I mean, you could change the number and change the name, and have it sitting statutory on a siding somewhere, or in a station with carriages behind it, getting ready to go. It doesn't have to move. It just adds that much more value for a very, very reasonable price. And you know, we're not rivet counters here. And all in all, I think this is great value. As I say, for a few pound, and if you were lucky enough to get one of these, you can populate your layout, and it'll look great. I mean, the numbers are good in comparison with the Hornby one. Absolutely no complaints there. The paintwork, slightly different, of course, the line work, slightly different from the Hornby one, but it is all round really, really very authentic looking, and they've put a lot of work and effort into the detail of this locomotive. So that's only my opinion, and we'll close off now with the Flying Scotsman, and we'll look forward to another review on one of the other locomotives. Bye for now.